everyone. Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Daniel, and today I will be helping introduce this webinar session, which is titled Level Up for Career Success. Really quickly, can I just get everyone in the chat to type where you're from and what you're studying? I can actually go first. In the meantime, just want to tell you guys a little bit about this event and how fruitful I think it was for me when I first started coming to the U and actually entering these events before I was a freshman. I thought that these were really helpful. So I hope that this event will also be fruitful for you guys. Sure, cool. I see someone from Trinidad and Tobago. I myself am actually from Singapore. I don't know why I picked such a cold state coming from such a hot country, but hey, sometimes it happens. Next slide, please. Really quickly, we're just going to talk about the upcoming and past events. So as you can see, we already have quite a number of events that have already occurred. But today we have Level Up for Career Success, and the next webinar we have is Meet Your College Fellows. Every event after that is going to be in person. So if you're more, if you're the kind of person that would like to come down in person and enjoy more, I think these events would really benefit you. I went for a lot of these and I really had fun when I was a freshman. So I really recommend if you guys come for these events too. Moving on, I'm going to now introduce our speakers. I will now pass it to Jane first to introduce herself. Jane, please.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's so good to see you here, whether it's your evening or afternoon or morning. My name is Jane, and I use she, her pronouns. And my role at UMN is the International Career Consultant. So I work in career services. Our university has a position that's focused entirely on our undergraduate international students' career development. If you are not an undergraduate student, we'll still share some relevant info for you today as well. I don't meet with students and appointments, but you will see me at events and workshops to work on your career development together. My email is on the page and Ray has kindly put it in the chat too. Feel free to save the email and you can connect with me anytime with career related questions and I will get you some helpful info. I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Mary Beth, who's also on the call.
Hey everyone, it's so good to see you. Glad that you have attended this workshop. My name is Mary Beth Polk. I use she, her pronouns, and I work in International Student and Scholar Services, ISSS, as an F1 International Student Advisor. So I'm here on this call to help answer any questions you have about how working could impact your immigration status. If you have any questions to follow up, you can always email our new student team at issssnew@umn.edu. And I also included a link to the contact us page, which is where you can set up an appointment or attend a drop-in for further advising. Back to you, Jane.
Thank you, Mary Beth. And for those of us who are just joining the session still, we're in Level Up for Career Success. And you might be thinking, I haven't even entered the university yet. Why are we talking about leveling up our careers? And what are you thinking about when you think about your careers? And we can go to the next slide. So a good question might be, what does a career mean to you? Do you have any future plans for your careers so far? You might have some ideas in mind, and we can click. That might be a career in the US. You might want to get an internship or job after you graduate. That might be a career in your home country. Maybe there's a company there that you're really interested in. Or you might want to explore a new country. Many of our graduates do that and head to graduate school or a career in another country. And you might be interested in graduate or professional school. All of these paths are things that our students and our alumni are preparing for and things that staff can help you with here at UMN. We can go to the next slide. So we've been talking a lot about helpful staff. You might be hearing about academic advisors, ISSS advisors. When you have career questions, where should you go? Where should you go for career questions at UMN? We can go to the next slide. Here's some people you might be thinking about already. You might want to talk to your academic advisor, your professor, ISSS, your career counselor, your friend, your parents. Who should you talk to? We can give a click. Well, I just want to emphasize here that you do have a career coach, and many of these other people too might also be helpful in your career journey. But to start and to be focused on, what are your next steps for an internship or job or going to graduate school, I recommend reaching out to the career counselor, and career services support is located in your college, which we can go to the next slide. So these are all the career offices for the different colleges. You can see nice photos of the buildings. Career Services is located in your college. So if you are studying psychology, you're going to CLA for Career Services, and you don't have to kind of bounce around. Your career coaches are very focused on your major, your industry, and connections to employers in that college. All right, we can go to the next slide. So what does Career Services do at University of Minnesota Twin Cities? We have some things here, and there's far more activities apart from that, but these are the major activities. You can meet with a career coach and work through guides or discussion to figure out what career might be best for you. Like I said at the beginning of the session, you might be in the stage thinking, I don't even know what I want to do, and that is perfectly okay. Career Services has a person where you can meet to talk about what do you want to do. We have resources, information, and tools that are needed to secure internships and jobs. So if you do have in mind that you think you want to do an internship in the US or during your college years in another country, or you're thinking about jobs after graduation, definitely get some information for us. You can explore majors and careers. There's definitely not just one thing that you can do with your major. There's a variety of options for each. So we can help you explore what's related to that. Career Services can help you identify your strengths and skills and how to talk about them. That's oftentimes the hardest part. How do I talk about that? I'm good at programming, or how do I talk about that? I'm really good in a lab or good with people. They can help you talk about your skills and strengths in cover letters and resumes and in job interviews. Finally, if you think you are interested in graduate or professional school, Career Services can help you prepare for that as well and explore different great options and prepare your application. We can go to the next slide. So what do you need to do to work on your career development? As we've been talking about, you are just starting out at UMN. So what are some things to keep in mind throughout your journey? Employers are looking for your knowledge, skills, and abilities in a certain area. So how are you building your knowledge, skills, and abilities? But also connections. How are you getting to know your fellow students, your faculty? Maybe you eventually work on campus and build some connections or get an internship. How are you building connections and community with other people who can support you on your career journey? And finally, experience. And we're going to talk a bit about that throughout the presentation. Experience doesn't have to be just related to the job you want. You can build a variety of different experiences that allow you to gain valuable skills. We can go to the next slide. What should you do to impress employers? So now that we know what you need to do to work on your career development, what should you do to impress employers? Should you get a 4.0 GPA? Should you be a leader in a student group? Should you get work experience as a student employee? Or should you dress in a fancy suit? Or should you have outstanding communication skills? Maybe it's more than one answer on this list. What do you think? All right, we can show the answer. I think there's multiple answers. Yeah, so I often hear from students while they're just starting out that they're really concerned about getting a 4.0 GPA. And it is important to try to do well in your coursework, of course. And if you do get a 4.0, that's something to celebrate. But that's not the only thing. And usually when alumni who are getting career experiences come back to talk to students, they often say, don't worry about a 4.0 GPA as much. Be sure that you're really enjoying all parts of the college experience, including like attending student group events or volunteering. Don't only focus on a 4.0 GPA. You also probably don't need to dress in a fancy suit. There are different things that you can wear to show that you are professional. But I want to highlight some of these other opportunities. Being a leader in a student group is a great thing for your career development. There are many student leaders on this Zoom right now. They're doing this and they're building career skills and connections and gaining experience. Similarly, getting work experience as a student employee could be another great way to build experience, connections, and skills for a job, like having outstanding communication skills. That is one of the most common skills that employers are interested in. We're now going to talk about one of those ways to gain experience, which is being a student employee. We can go to the next slide. Working as a student, that might be something that you have already been thinking about, or it might be a new idea. Many international students work on campus. On-campus employment is limited to just 20 hours a week when school is in session, and you can be full-time during semester breaks and summer vacation. If you are interested in working as a student, that is a great thing to talk about with your ISSS advisors, with career counselors, to learn more about it if you have questions. Some of the things that people do could be office assistant, working in information technology, building websites, tutoring, teaching others, being a peer advisor. There's a variety of different options for student employment that could really be related to your interests, or it could be something that's just a job to get experience. We're going to hear from two students who have participated in student employment. First, I'm going to pass it to Shiman.
Thank you, Jane. Hello, welcome everyone. I am Shiman Li, a graduate student at the College of Design from China. I am currently serving as Culture Corps graduate consultant. Today, I would like to share some tips for or information for graduate students, especially about student employment. There are different opportunities available for graduate students. Some have research assistantship or teaching assistantship within your department, or sometimes even outside your departments. But it is important to know there are other opportunities other than RA or TA. Always check your emails from your departments or GPCs. They do send out a lot of emails regarding any employment opportunities. A word of caution, be careful and first figure out with ISSS on how to get your OPT or CPT before being employed anywhere. Situations can be different with F1 visa or J1 visa. Please do clarify any permission from ISSS or from your employer so that you do not land up in trouble later. Look at something short or long-term depending on your availability. So we will share the link later on the chat box. Lastly, just be proactive, seek outside resources as well. Look into LinkedIn, Indeed, and other career websites. A lot of people I know have landed up in internship just by approaching through LinkedIn, including me as an example. There are lots of opportunities within the university as well as outside. So pick the right and appropriate ones that are available and use every opportunity in the way to gain your experience. Have a great time and enjoy the opportunities that come along the way. And thank you very much. I will then pass on to Jaden.
Thank you, Shivan, and thank you for sharing such great thoughts and ideas. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jaden Antoine. I am a senior here at the University of Minnesota, and I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. As an international student athlete, I've had the incredible opportunity to balance my studies, athletics, and work, and I'm about to graduate, and I came a long way. I've had 2 student jobs at my 4 years here at the University of Minnesota, and my current role is with the Global Gopher Experiences, or GGE, under the International Student Scholarship Services. Actually, my position is technically an internship, and I love every second of it thus far. It's been a fantastic way for me to prepare heading into the corporate world. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of new people. And today I want to share my experiences and encourage you to consider working as a student here at your time at the University of Minnesota. When you first arrive, I would recommend taking some time to settle in and get comfortable with your new environment. Once you are settled in and you feel as though you have a firm grasp of what the University of Minnesota campus life is like, then I would suggest getting into the process of looking for a student job. For international undergraduate students, finding an opportunity might seem a little bit challenging or a little bit daunting and even confusing at first, but it is truly a great opportunity. Unfortunately, we have the ISSS, which has amazing resources to help you understand what campus jobs you are eligible for. Additionally, if you are interested in part-time research positions or jobs within your college, make sure to go through our monthly emails that you will receive and pay attention to notice boards around campus because they often contain valuable information like professors looking for teaching assistants, positions that need to be filled, or even office assistants, which I once was. So overall, working on campus is a productive use of your time, and it helps you to find your community while giving you a realistic insight into the hiring process in the United States. It doesn't have to start in your first year, but it's definitely something you should consider in your process throughout your studies. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoy your time at the University of Minnesota. Passing it back to Jane.
Thank you, Jaden and Shimon. I think we heard some really great insights from both of them. And I want to emphasize a couple things. One, reading your email, you learn a lot of great opportunities from email. So that's something to definitely pay attention to. And 2, this process involves talking with a lot of people. So we might want to ask people we know, like, do you know of any opportunities? And that's all part of a process called networking, which I will talk about in a little bit. So a lot of great resources from Jaden and Shimon. Thank you both. Can we go to the next slide, please? So when you're applying for these opportunities, you might be asked to submit a resume or cover letter, or for some of our graduate students, they might ask for a CV. So I want to emphasize on this resume that we see the biggest part of the resume is in the middle. That's the biggest section, and that section is called experience. So the employers are really looking in detail in what are your experiences. The education section is kind of small, so it helps employers to see kind of what have you studied, where did you graduate from, and when. But the experience section is much richer, it has a lot more information, and it lets employers know what are your professional competencies, what are your skills and strengths, and if that matches what they're looking for. So something to keep in mind in your experience starting out at UMN. We can go to the next slide. And then to find student jobs, we recommend the UMN Office for Human Resources webpage. Some other student jobs are on another website that you'll learn more about called Handshake. And I don't know if you have access to Handshake until the semester starts. Some of our colleges will ask that you submit a resume to be able to join Handshake. But I think that's a link that our student leaders have been putting in the chat. So you can explore that later. But this website, the UMN Office for Human Resource website, is available to you now. So you can skim through what are the opportunities posted on there. And it's important to read the postings very carefully because some of the postings might say, we only need a resume, or they might say we want a resume and a cover letter, or you might learn more about your general eligibility for the position. Maybe they're looking for students in a certain department or a certain academic level. So it's important to read the postings clearly. All right, we can go to the next slide. So thinking of any type of internship or job in the US, what do many top sources believe to be the #1 way to get a job in the US? Would it be a perfect resume, an impressive interview, knowledge of computer programming, networking, or a 4.0 GPA? What do you think is the #1 way? All right, we can review. Networking. Oh, Shuhan, you got it. Networking. Yeah, networking is a really important activity, right? But I think it's important to name that it might make us nervous. It might feel awkward. But in other scenarios, you might be excited about it too. But networking is something that I know can be hard for a lot of people, including me. We can go to the next slide. So some words about networking. I want to refer you to 2 websites to do online networking. So one of them is LinkedIn. Has anyone heard about LinkedIn before? I think maybe. It's never too late to start a LinkedIn, and it might be something that you want to explore. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn if you would like. I would be glad to connect with you. LinkedIn is professional social media. So it is a social media network, but very focused for your career. And it is particularly good for international students because I'm going to say you don't have to pay for it. Some people might choose to pay for it, but it is largely free. And it is a place for you to show about your knowledge, skills, capabilities, your experiences to a professional community for free. And all I want is people to be able to get to know you so you can secure the internships and jobs that you're interested in. So that's a bit about LinkedIn. It is also a good place to connect with other University of Minnesota alumni who have graduated and are working around the world, and to search for companies that might be interesting to you around the world. So it can be a very valuable career tool. However, there's another career tool that is specific to University of Minnesota, and that is the Maroon and Gold Network, which Ray has put the link in the chat for us. If you want to, you can already sign up for that too. Maroon and Gold Network is specific to the University of Minnesota community. So that is a great place to connect with some fellow students of different academic levels and alumni, and have career-related conversations with them. I have heard from some other international students and alumni that they have found some career mentors on the Maroon and Gold Network. The tool, the website Maroon and Gold Network, has some message templates for you that can help you to connect with others about things like career exploration or general networking. So it's very helpful for students in making networking online be easier for all of us. So we can go to the next slide. And I will pass to Mary Beth for this one.
Thanks so much, Jane. So one important thing to think about when thinking about working is your immigration status. So you can work on campus, as Jane mentioned earlier, for up to 20 hours per week during the fall and spring semesters, and you do not need any special work authorization in order to work on campus. You don't need approval from ISSS or US Immigration in order to work on campus as an F1 student. But if you're planning on working off campus, there are limited opportunities to work off campus. And for F1 students, you primarily could do CPT, that stands for Curricular Practical Training. That is internship opportunities while you're still a student. And then you also have the opportunity to apply for what's called OPT, or Optional Practical Training, which is work authorization for when you're finished with your degree program. For J1 students, they're a little bit different from F1 students. So there's academic training that's available to apply for when you're finished with your program, and then there's post-academic training options as well. If you're a J1 student, I recommend meeting with an ISSS J1 advisor, and they'll be able to talk to you about your work opportunities. But yeah, I want to be very clear that on-campus work for F1 students, no problem. Off-campus work is limited to CPT and OPT. It's typically limited to part-time work, but you could work full-time in the summer. And generally, it has to be related to your degree program. So unfortunately, you couldn't like work at Starbucks off campus to make money. But the purpose is really to get experience in your field. And so that's why we can approve CPT and OPT. Any questions you have about this, I'm happy to answer in the Q&A later in the workshop.
Great. To continue our kind of end of presentation, I want to share some helpful sites with you all. So starting at the far left side of the page, we do maintain a career website for international students. So that is the link to that website. In the middle, we have an Instagram page, so follow us there. That is where I post some student employment opportunities, student leadership opportunities, and career events. And then the far right side of the page is Handshake. As we have been talking about, Handshake is the university's internship and job platform for students, and it is connected to employers all over the world, mostly in the US, but there are some postings outside of the US too. You may or may not have access to it yet. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the session, sometimes colleges want students to upload a resume before they are able to fully access Handshake. Once you do have access to Handshake, you will be able to see internship and job postings. Some of them are on campus, so that's something to check into because like Mary Beth was just talking about, you do not need work authorization to work on campus. And what else to say about Handshake? It is also the place where we promote career fairs and other employer events, sometimes on campus or just entirely hosted by the employer online or somewhere else. So Handshake is really important, and something, if you don't have access to it already, that once the semester is started, you'll want to get started making your Handshake profile. That is all from me. I do think we have had a couple of questions come through.
Thank you so much, Jane and Mary Beth, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Soliana Shukur, she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior Global Gopher leader here at GGE, and I'm also a senior studying computer science. Now, how to stay connected with ISSF. There are many ways to stay connected with us as a new international student, including the new student website in ISSS at issss.umn.edu/new, and our Global Gopher Experience website that was added in the chat. As an international student, it is never wrong to ask and connect with ISSS. Feel free to contact us at issssnew@umn.edu, and one of our staff members will respond to you as soon as possible. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at ISSSUMN and join our Discord channel if we ever continue it. For more information and updates on other events, please, we will keep you posted. Just follow us on those sites. And so again, welcome to our Global Gopher family. And next we will start the Q&A portion. I will pass it on to Jaden.
Thank you, Soliana. Hello again, everyone. We have arrived at the Q&A portion of our webinar. This will be the last portion, so if you have any questions, you can feel free to direct it to the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can also submit questions anonymously, and we will go through each question as fast as we can. Before we get started with submitted questions, we have questions that were submitted previously, which we will answer first. After which, we will go through each question in the Q&A. So I am going to pass it to Key.
Hi everyone, my name is Key. So I'm gonna pass some questions, read out some questions now. So this question is for Jane. For new and incoming students who do not have access to their account yet, how do they have access to the UMN Career Services?
Yeah, I would recommend, if you are interested in exploring careers now, to visit that career website that we were talking about. So career.umn.edu has a lot of great information for all students. And then there is the specific international student section of career.umn.edu, which we have been sharing in the chat. Those would be great things to look at now, while in the next month, while you're not on campus yet. And then once you're on campus, you can visit the career office, get to know the career coaches, and join Handshake.
That sounds great. Thank you, James, for the advice. Next questions. We have students asking how can we connect with alumni that currently working in the industry where we plan eventually goes. Apart from LinkedIn, are there any global event or organized to facilitate this networking?
There are. All of the colleges will host alumni events. So it's really important to pay attention to your email to know when those events are coming. Apart from email, a lot of the colleges will promote those events on Instagram and Handshake. So those are 3 places to watch for those events happening. As an example, this summer, one program that we have particularly for undergraduate international students, but it is not the only opportunity for all students, is the Career Star program. And 3 international alumni visited that program to talk about their career experiences. So students got to meet those alumni and hear their career stories.
That is a great way to networking. Thank you, Jane. I saw in the questions we have students asking, how should I network in order to get more opportunities for graduate assistantship?
Yeah, I wonder if I could take that maybe with Shuman or one of our graduate students in the group. My recommendation would be to talk with your faculty and other people in your department to ask them, what are the graduate assistantships available, when are they posted, and to share with them that you are interested in those positions. I don't know if Shiman or any of our other graduate students have, or Ki, you might have thoughts too.
Shima, you want to chime in?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, yes, to my experience, the graduate assistantship usually is issued by your own department. So yeah, just communicate more with your DGS and also the faculties, within your department. And usually pay attention to the UMN job board to see if there are other opportunities like outside your department. But to me, it's like, you will usually get an assistantship from your own department, since it's the assistantships, they related a lot to what you are learning and what you have done before coming to the US. So what is your expertise in your major? So thank you. That is my sharing.
Thank you, Jane and Shiman, for answering the questions. Yeah, at me, a graduate student, I totally related and agree. Just like, keep track on the U of N job board. I think that's where the graduate assistantship, and also like communicate more with, the professors that within your college. They will kind of have like, the update faster about the positions that are gonna go open, and whether you can also ask them if they're looking for any graduate assistants. Alrighty, so I have a couple more questions for you, Jane. So what are some ways to break into a particular industry or functions without any prior experience?
That's a great question. And I think that is a good question because you might not know what area you're interested in, or you might be very interested in an industry, but maybe your major is not like literally related. Like, for example, if you're studying psychology, but you also have some interests in technology, like what is the intersection of psychology and technology? The good thing to do is what we've been talking about a lot, networking. So asking your faculty, what are their thoughts about the careers that you're interested in? Do they know the latest insights in the field for what are the innovations in technology and psychology? So asking your faculty first is a good idea. And from there, you might get some ideas about building experience on campus or through a student group to get you closer to that area that you don't have much experience in yet. So really important to start with networking, and then what are the ways that you can build experience on campus first, and then build out to experience off campus.
Thank you for your answer. Yeah, that is a great way to build networkings, also break into the job industries. For next questions, we have so students asking like when should they apply for internships, and do they apply for multiple internships at the same times, and if so, is it a limited for it?
Yeah, I'm going to take the last part, applying for multiple things at the same time. You should definitely apply for many things at the same time. Don't like overwhelm yourself or don't do too much work, but it is good to increase your chances to apply for a few things at once. So that is definitely something that's normal to do. When should you apply? It really depends on your college and industry or the opportunities that you're looking for. Student employment is something that new jobs are kind of posted all the time. So as soon as you're interested in student employment, you can apply whenever you would feel like. But other industries, you might want to check with your college career counselor to understand what is the usual cycle. For example, right now, if you have just completed 2 semesters, right now is a very active time to apply for spring and summer internships of next year. So August, September is that really peak time for your spring and summer internships. And then coming up into this upcoming spring, that will be another active time to apply for summer and fall internships. So that is the usual cycle in the US, August, September, and then January, February. But check with your career counselor for more info.
Yeah, I totally agree. Usually, the job gonna open, like internship. Like if you apply during summers, it's gonna open like during the springs. And Jane, correct me if I'm wrong. And then usually like in the fall, like it's gonna open like beginning of summers. So that's great. And then actually we do have a couple more questions here. So students are wondering if getting an internship by the second year is a must, and especially if interest in medical school. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely something to double check with your staff in your college. Getting an internship in your second year, third year, fourth year is a great asset. But if it's something that, you weren't able to succeed in getting an internship in your second year, that doesn't mean that all is lost. We've been talking about a lot of great ways to build experience, such as with student employment, research, and labs on campus. There are so many ways. So I think the important thing is to stay active in finding ways to build new experiences, whether through student employment, research, could be volunteering in the community, or getting involved with student groups.
Thank you, Jane, for your answer. So now is a couple questions for Mary Beth. The students are wondering if they need EAD to work for paid positions on campus, and can I find an off-campus job during my first year in the US? I am an F1 student.
Yeah, great question. So as we discussed earlier, if you want to work on campus, you do not need any special work authorization to do that during the academic year. So fall and spring semesters, F1 students are limited to 20 hours of work per week. You can have multiple jobs, but it's important to note that the total hours of both jobs cannot exceed 20 hours. Sorry, that was a long question. What were the other parts of the question? I want to make sure I'm addressing everything.
Oh, for sure. So the other part is first one is, do they need like a EAD to work for paid position on campus? And the second part is can they file at their first years in the US, can they find an off-campus job?
Gotcha. Okay. Great question. So, CPT is the primary way that F1 students can apply to work off campus in an internship or a co-op, something like that. In most cases, CPT is only permitted for students who have completed their first 2 semesters. There is an exception for students who their program requires an internship in the first year, but this is very rare. That's really only typically we see for dental students. So yeah, it's definitely limited to, you have to complete your first 2 semesters in order to apply for CPT. The nice thing about CPT is you only apply through ISSS. You don't have to submit an application to the US government, so the processing time for us is pretty quick.
Thank you, Mary Beth. That is good advice. Yeah, I would recommend contact ISSS advisors, contact Mary Beth or any others academic advisor at ISSS for future questions. And then we do have a questions. Student wondering how do we find internship jobs that provide work authorizations for international students taking into account visa criteria?
Yeah, I will say a couple things about that. And then once you arrive to campus, I recommend meeting with your career services to get refreshed about these resources. So Handshake has some built-in search filters specifically for CPT and OPT, the International Student Work Authorizations that Mary Beth was introducing. And so those filters can be a really good option. We also have some various lists that you can look at as a student. One of them is in a tool within Handshake also. So as you can see, Handshake is going to become a very helpful tool for you. Another list is from some years ago it is currently on the international student section of the career website. So you can even view it now. I think Ray has been popping that link in the chat before, but it is on there in the US job search section. I believe this is the link from the top of my head. So we have some various research sources that you can get to know as a student. I think that is a good answer for now.
That is awesome. Thank you, Jane, for getting students toward the questions. And we have some more, I believe is for Mary Beth. This one relate to like how to obtain employment authorizations documents. Is there any eligibility criteria?
Yes. So, if we're talking about an internship, which, yeah, if we're talking about an internship, you'll apply for CPT as we discussed. When you apply for CPT, it's required by the US government that you are enrolled in a 1-credit internship course that is related to your major. And so, if you're an undergraduate student, a lot of departments, have just a CPT course that you can enroll in for 1 credit. If you're a graduate student, a lot of times this would be like an independent study or a directed study course. But I can share the link on our website to the CPT application process, because really the main thing is to always be in contact with your academic advisor about the course you should be enrolled in and making sure that the job that you're doing is related to your degree. So I'm just gonna pop this in the chat and it goes through basically the step-by-step process of requesting CPT. And you can always meet with an ISSS advisor to discuss your CPT application. And I hope that answers your question. If it didn't, please feel free to put something in the Q&A that I can answer more specifically.
For sure, that sounds great. Thank you, Mary Beth. We do have a last question here. When is the best time to apply for research opportunities and or apply for co-op? And what is the differences between the two?
Yeah, and I see someone in the audience too raising your hand, and if you want to put your question in the Q&A for us, that would be great. Research and co-op are two very different experiences. Co-op is something that is mostly available to students in College of Science and Engineering. And it is a time where you might spend at least a semester to nearly a year, almost working full-time or working full-time. And it is a really cool opportunity, but something to definitely do some research when you arrive to campus to learn more about co-op. And many international students are able to participate in them, and it's a really good career experience. So co-op is more intensive, and it is open to kind of a select majors in the College of Science and Engineering. And it allows you to get hands-on professional experience in your field. Research is something that any student can participate in, and you probably will participate in because the University of Minnesota is a research-intensive university. But you can do your own projects, you can work with faculty, and there are some really great funding opportunities for research too. Research is something you can apply for at any time. In a minute, I will post some links in the chat for undergraduate students research. Another thing to keep in mind here that I hear from a lot of students is the idea of cold emailing. That sounds kind of weird, doesn't it, right? Cold emailing. So that's to just send a message to a faculty or kind of senior graduate student and say, hey, I'm really interested in your research. This is who I am. Do you have any opportunities or advice for me? So it's cold because maybe you don't know the person, so it's not as like warm of a connection. But that is a strategy that has worked for a lot of students that I have worked with in getting access to research opportunities. I don't know if any of our student leaders have some similar experience with research that they want to share, but those are some ideas about getting involved in research that I have.
Thank you, Jane, for answering the question. Yeah, I can share a little bit about my research. So I think that during my undergrad, I majored in developmental psychology. So the major is more kind of like psychology, but relate to the human development, like child psychology before. And then how I joined like the research lab is I participate in like the research fair that usually happen in spring. Like the faculty is gonna like hosting a fair, and then technically you going introducing yourself, and then like we also have a job fair too, and then getting like to talk with the faculties and to understand more of like, oh, is it the area you want to do research in, and like how can you participate, the commitment for the lab, does it count toward credit? Yeah, just like clarify some question like that. And yeah, and I'm gonna pass on to Ray to take on the live Q&A questions.
Yeah, we saw a lot of students sending out very good questions. I believe Jane and Maribeth also typing, replying them. And for now, I think this question is for Jane, that someone asked, I register for Handshake off-campus options, and some of them did contact me and saying they are available postings and they got attracted by my profile. Are these trusted?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to share two important things to think about with this question. So in Handshake, the university staff are looking at every employer. So that is a good part about Handshake, is that it is somewhat reviewed so that we're making some good recommendations to UMN students for potential employers. However, being international students, there's a second layer that we have to think about, in that maybe not every opportunity is a great opportunity, or their actual jobs might have some details that as international students, it is not possible to work on. In particular, let's say they work a lot with government contracts. That's usually not eligible. So my recommendation is, if you ever get a message on LinkedIn or on Handshake that you're unsure about, you can visit your career services office or send them an email to ask about it. That's a very normal thing to do, and it helps you in the end to double check that this might be a good opportunity for you. So you can think of two things. One, at least the employer was probably looked at by some university staff, but I still would recommend that you talk with someone to double check that it might be a good opportunity for you.
Okay, so next question is, I think it's for Mary Beth, is the on-campus job application form asks whether I have a work authorization or not. Am I to say yes or no to that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, a lot of job applications that you see both on and off campus are going to ask if you're authorized to work in the US. So, if it's an on-campus job application, you can say, yes, I'm authorized because you are an F1 student. So, you're authorized to work on campus up to 20 hours a week. You do not need any additional work authorization for that. If you're applying for an internship or a job off campus, it might ask you the same question. And they might add a line that says, will you now or in the future need work authorization? So that can get a little bit confusing. So if you apply for CPT or OPT, you can say that you don't need sponsorship because you will apply for CPT or OPT and your immigration status will basically allow you to work without needing the company to sponsor your visa. Your F1 visa will still be held by the University of Minnesota. But if it asks in the future, do you need sponsorship? Then the answer would be yes, because you don't have unlimited work authorization in the US. It's only for the time period that you're in F1 status as a student or on OPT after graduation. So it really depends on how they ask the question. And you can always come meet with an ISSS advisor if you have a specific job application you're curious about. We're happy to help. These are very common questions, and we want to help make sure that you're clicking the right button so that you can continue your job application. Yeah, but on campus, you have work authorization as an F1 student on campus. It's the off-campus ones that you really wanna check on. Jane, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm surprised that one of our on-campus student employment positions has put that in there because that's not something they should do. So even if you want to email that to me, I would love to look at it. And just like Mary Beth has been saying, you have work authorization to work on campus anytime, and lots of international students work in all different on-campus offices. So that's not something that I think you should be asked in terms of an on-campus job. But you are authorized to do that. So I hope you apply for the job and get the job.
Thanks, Jane and Mary Beth. I think there's one more final question. I think it's from the chat box saying, what are the what legal documents do we usually need to work on campus? Like maybe birth certificate or something?
I'm not seeing that question, but
It's like,
It was asked in the chat like
okay.
20 minutes ago, maybe.
Okay. Okay. So, when you apply for a job, there are, and Jane, you might have more information about this. They should not be asking you for a birth certificate. There are things that they should and should not be asking for. So when you apply for your job, the primary thing is submitting your resume and your cover letter. I'm not sure if this is answering the question.
It might be, Mary Beth, it might be related to like the I-9 or like getting an SSN kind of process. And I don't know if any of our students have also gone through that process. Maybe Key, have you been working on campus and done like the SSN process? I think the passport can be one of the documents.
I can kind of talk a little bit about what the I-9 is.
Yeah, that sounds
and
great.
this is a very specific question, so not something that you need to really worry about until you have a job offer. But when you start your job on the first day, the University of Minnesota is required to fill out what's called an I-9, and that's just basically proof to the US government that you are eligible to work in the United States. So they're going to, the human resources or HR person in your hiring department is going to ask for your basic immigration documents. Usually that's going to be your passport, maybe your I-20, maybe your visa. And I think that's where the specific documents, maybe one of our student assistants or interns can answer because they have filled out the I-9. But we also, as Americans, have to fill out the I-9, to be clear, something that everyone does. So when I started on my first day at the U, I brought my passport. They have to verify my identity. So that's part of it. The other thing that Jane mentioned was a social security number. So this is a number that allows you to get paid. It has to do with taxes. No one really asked about this, but in case you are curious, I can put the SSN information in the chat. We also have information about this, I believe, in iPrep, and we will we'll have a social security number day at the U for our new students. So social security office will come to the U, you bring your documents and they'll process your application. So I don't want to spend too much time on the SSN, but that is another document that you'll want to get after you start your position.
Oh, thanks, Mary Beth. I think that's pretty much it for the live Q&A. If you have any question after the sessions, make sure don't hesitate to reach out to ISS and Jane, and I will pass it to Soliana for future events.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Just a final reminder that our next session will be in 2 weeks at the same time on August 9th. If you are curious to learn more about your specific college, GLA, CSC, etc., then join us to meet new faces, know key places, and learn the community spaces for your college. College staff, current international students, and new international students in your colleges will meet and share what they know. Join us for the opportunity to meet other new international students and learn how to succeed at the University of Minnesota. And we hope to see you next time.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it. Ooh. I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up, no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood. blood is rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't need control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop, stop, stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move where you already know, so just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel the good, good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Come on, all those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling, so just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling, yeah. So keep dancing. Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't stop the. 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 Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel the good, good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. Everybody say. I can't stop the feeling. Oh, no, I can't stop the feeling. I can't stop the feeling in my body. Break it down. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. Come on.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.